You're listening to old Western stories, where dust settles slow, guns speak loud, and every tale rides straight into your imagination. Hit that subscribe and saddle up, the ride's just startin'. Dust rose slow off the trail, stubborn as a mule with nowhere to go. On the porch of the Calder place, old boards creaked under boots that walked more miles than most horses could carry. Ephraim Calder stood leanin' against a post, rancher by name, ruined by truth. His hands were split raw from years of dry work, and his eyes worse, split from choices made too late. Inside, Emma Calder paced like a caged filly, barefoot across wide-planked floor, apron still on, though supper had gone cold. Her braid lay down her back, tight and tied with the same red ribbon she'd worn since she was 16. She was near 21 now, but looked older today. A year had passed with every hour since the banker last came callin'. Back by the cottonwoods near the barn, Jace Teller leaned on the rail, whittlin' a stick into nothin'. His hands moved easy, but his jaw flexed now and then, betrayin' what he knew. He'd heard it all, didn't need no ledger to tell the tale. The Calder place was buried in debt, and the only thing left with any worth was Emma. Ephraim had promised her hand to a banker named Harlan Vex, marriage, legal as any brand. But folks around here knew a sale when they saw one. Jace had rode fence on the Calder spread for near 3 years, ate her cookin', fixed her mother's gate, listened to her sing to colts. He'd never touched her hand, never needed to. His feelin's ran quieter than talk. Harlan Vex wasn't from these parts. Came up from Ellensburg with a clean hat and city boots, smiled too wide, spoke in terms and clauses. 2 weeks back he came with a ledger and a grin. Yesterday he came with a date, said his men would arrive Saturday for signatures and escort, called it paperwork, but Jace knew men don't ride with rifles for paperwork. That night, moonlight draped the ranch in silver, cold and half-hearted. Jace didn't sleep. Watched from the bunkhouse window as Emma sat on the porch steps in her nightdress, lookin' out at the pasture like it might carry her someplace better. He walked up quiet and sat beside her, didn't speak, just let the night breathe. "You heard?" she asked, voice barely above the wind. "Yeah," he said. They sat in it, silence stretchin' long and taut. "I ain't gonna do it," she whispered. He kept his eyes on the pasture. "Then don't. It ain't that simple, never is." She looked at him then, her voice cracked soft. "He said I'd be a banker's wife, live in town, new dresses, piano lessons. Like I'm some broken thing needs refittin'." Jace spat. "You ain't broke." She stared a long while, then asked, "You got a plan, Jace?" His knife was already back in the belt. "I got a horse that runs quiet and a map that don't lead here." They didn't need to say it. The wind already knew. Come morning, Ephraim was in the barn counting tools like any of it mattered. Still tallying like a man not ready to admit he'd lost. Jace saddled Buck and set gear like it was any other day. Difference was, the rifle under the blanket and the second canteen strapped to the saddle horn. Emma stepped outside wearing the blue dress her ma had sewn before her lungs turned to dust. Looked more like morning clothes than weddin'. Jace didn't say nothin', just tipped his hat when she passed. She nodded back like that meant everything. Then came the dust cloud. 3 riders, shapes against the gold of the morning light, rode like they didn't bend for nothin'. Banker's men. One wore a city coat over a gun belt, town coat. The other 2 looked like they didn't use names. Just call signs and kill counts. None of 'em dismounted. Ephraim stepped out first, hands empty. "You're early." Towncoat smiled, too many teeth. "Early means eager, Mr. Calder." Emma stood still on the porch. Jace leaned on the corral, one hand hanging lazy near his belt. Buck shifted behind him. Towncoat spoke smooth. Banker Vex added a clause for assurance. "Says the girl rides out today. Delay shows bad faith." Ephraim fumbled. "Asked for one more day. Said something about dressin' her proper. Let the parson say a word." The tallest rider nudged his horse forward, scar down one cheek, eyes cold and coal-black. Scarface, Jace called him. He stepped toward the porch, hand outstretched, not quick, just sure. Jace moved first, didn't shout, didn't warn, drew and fired. One crack split the morning. Scarface dropped like a sack of oats. Emma screamed. Towncoat shouted, but the second gunman already had his iron up. Bullets splintered the corral post near Jace's ribs. Jace ducked, rolled, came up behind the water trough, returned fire. Missed. Ranch lit up like Judgment Day, boots pounding, guns barking, wood flying. Ephraim crawled behind a porch beam, yelling Emma's name. The second gunman circled wide, looking to flank. Towncoat ducked behind the supply wagon and hollered, "You're mackin', a bad situation worse, cowhand." Jace called back, "That girl's worth every round I got." Emma had vanished into the house when the first bullet flew. Jace hoped she stayed low, maybe tucked behind the chimney or hid under the floorboards. He had to end it before they flushed her out. He ran low, boots hit in hard dirt, slid behind the feed shed, fired again. Heard a grunt. Peeked quick. The second gunman was down, clutching his gut, cussin'. Towncoat crouched behind the wagon, fired blind. Bullet took bark off the shed wall. Jace didn't wait. Broke cover, moved wide, took the high side by the hay cart. Towncoat didn't expect that angle. Jace fired once, hit thigh. Fired again, knocked the Colt from Towncoat's hand. Silence. Just the wind again, moving through bullet holes and busted boards. Jace stood over him. "Tell Vex this debt's settled." Towncoat groaned, bleeding into the dirt. Jace backed up toward the porch. Emma stepped out, face streaked with soot and tears, eyes fixed. Ephraim sat slumped against the rail, one arm over his eyes. No blood, just broken pride. Jace reached out his hand. "We ain't done yet." Emma nodded, eyes hard now. The wind kicked up again. They had a head start. A day or two, no more, but it'd be enough, long as they rode together. And long as they didn't stop. Smoke still hung over the Calder ranch like it didn't know the fight was done. The porch boards were scorched where Scarface bled out, and Emma stood in the doorway with her hands clenched so tight her knuckles had gone white. She wasn't crying anymore. Tears had turned to fire, but the fear hadn't left her face. Not all the way. Her eyes scanned the yard like she expected more men to rise up out of the dust. Jace stood out front, boots planted, rifle down but not away. His breath was even, but his shoulders twitched now and then like a man waiting for a second shot. Beside the water trough, Towncoat stirred. His leg was soaked red, the pinstripe pants ruined, but his voice still carried that poison charm. "You don't know what you've done," he said through his teeth. "You shoot me, but Vex, he don't come with questions. He sends answers." Jay stepped closer, slow. "You rode out here with a contract and a pair of killers. I gave you your answer." Towncoat tried to sit up, but pain cut his spine in half. He winced and laughed bitter. "You think this ends with me bleeding in your dirt? Vex owns more men than this county's got graves." Ephraim, still sitting against the porch post, pulled his hat low to hide his face. His voice came quiet. "He's right." Emma turned sharp. "Pa, he's right," Ephraim said again. "Vex don't stop. He'll buy the sheriff, buy the judge. Hell, he already has. I thought maybe if I gave him you, he'd stop there." Emma stepped down off the porch. "You sold me to save the ranch." He looked up at her, eyes hollow. "No, I sold you 'cause I was scared of what happened if I didn't." She flinched like he'd slapped her. Jace cut in, voice steady. "We ain't got time for reckoning. He'll send more. If he was smart, they're already halfway here." Emma looked at him, eyes wide with the weight of it. "So what do we do?" Jace tilted his head toward the barn. "We ride, light and fast. Don't stop till the sky changes color." "That ain't enough," Ephraim said, pushing himself to his feet. "They'll track us. They got riders better than me and guns cleaner than yours." "Then you stay," Jace snapped. "You bought this fight. Let us ride free of it." Emma's voice cut through sharp. "Jace," He looked at her, jaw tight. She shook her head. I ain't leaving him. Jace didn't answer at first, just stared past her to the bodies on the ground, to the blood soak and the scattered shells. Then we don't run, he said finally. We make it cost them. Ephraim wiped a hand down his face, left a streak of blood and dirt. You plannin' to take on a banker's army with a busted rifle and 3 damn fence tools? Jace looked at the barn, then at the ridge to the west. No, I'm plannin' to slow 'em down, long enough to get her clear if it turns bad. Emma's voice was calm now, cold. Then we prepare. The sun started to dip, throwing long shadows across the corral. Jace pulled the wagon close to the porch, turned it sideways, covered the sides with old feed sacks, made a wall of sorts. Emma hauled crates from the root cellar, preserves, jars, sacks of flour, and stacked them along the front of the house. Ephraim dragged the bodies to the far end of the barn, rolled them into an old trough, didn't speak, just worked like a man serving penance. By dusk, they'd reinforced what they could. Rifle on the porch, extra shells in a burlap bag under the swing, 2 revolvers laid out on the kitchen table, both loaded, both clean. They ate beans cold from a tin, sitting silent at the table. Emma didn't touch hers. Jace didn't blame her. The wind picked up after sundown, whistling through the fence posts, felt like a warning. Jace stood out front again, eyes on the ridge. They'll come from the east, he said. Roads flatter that way. Ephraim leaned on the porch rail, his voice rough. You ever done this before? Some, Jace said. Gunfightin'? No, preparin' to die. Emma came out with the canteen, handed it to him. Don't talk like that. Best not to lie about it, Jace said. I'll buy time. You ride out through the cottonwood creek if it turns. I'm not leaving you. You will if I fall. She reached for his hand, held it a moment. Don't fall. Ephraim looked away. Jace could feel the old man's shame pressing like heat. It wasn't just what he'd done. It was knowing someone else had to fix it. Jace turned toward him. You still got that Sharp's rifle from the war. Ephraim nodded, then disappeared into the house. Returned with a long, dusty case. Opened it slow, reverent. Inside was steel, scarred but still true. He checked the sights, loaded 3 rounds. I ain't shot in a while, he muttered. Then stay low, shoot once. Make it count. The stars were out now. Sky black as a banker's heart. Emma lit the lantern, set it on the porch. Jace snuffed it quick. No lights, he said. Not unless we want to show 'em where to aim. Then it came. Hoofbeats. Faint at first. Too steady to be wild. Too many to be friendly. Jace crouched low, rifle up. Emma stepped behind the feed crates, revolver in both hands. Ephraim took the upper window, eyes on the east trail. Jace whispered, 3, 4 riders, maybe 5. Emma's breath caught. You sure? Sound don't lie. Then from the ridge a lantern flared, just a flicker, gone again, but enough to say they were spotted. Jace's jaw tightened. They're scouting us. Ephraim's voice came from the window, dead calm. Then we ain't got long. Jace chambered around. Emma steadied her grip, and the wind died, the kind of still that comes before a storm. Night settled heavy across the Calder ranch, thick as wool soaked in sweat. The air didn't move, not even a whisper. Moonlight washed the dirt yard in silver, but every shadow seemed deeper, darker, like it held its breath. The wind had died hours ago, and with it went the last comfort of the ordinary. Now there was only the weight, the kind that twisted a man's guts slow and mean. Jace stood just inside the barn door, rifle in hand, eyes locked on the tree line east of the pasture. No movement, but he could feel it. A pressure in the air, same as before thunder cracks open the sky. Emma sat behind the feed crates on the porch, back straight, revolver nestled in her lap. She didn't tremble anymore. Fear had given way to purpose. Her face was pale, jaw tight, but her hands held steady. Inside the house, upstairs by the cracked window, Ephraim rested the Sharp's rifle on a grain sack, one eye on the slope. He hadn't said much since sundown. Just loaded, checked, reloaded. Like his soul was trying to crawl its way back from the hole it dug. Then Jace saw it. A flicker in the trees, not fire. Movement. Low, wide. Not a scout this time. Too much shape, too much shadow. These men moved like they'd done this before. Not hired drunks. Hounds. Jace stepped out, crouched low by the porch. They're common. Emma didn't speak. Just nodded once and set her thumb on the hammer. Jace counted the beats of silence. Then came the signal. A lantern raised, held high, then swept left. 3 shapes split off to flank. 2 came straight down the center trail. They rode slow, deliberate. Men who weren't in a hurry because they figured they wouldn't need to be. Jace muttered, "Banker sent his best." Then a voice rang out across the yard, loud, clear, practiced. "This is Wexley Boone, underemployee of Harlan Vex. We are here to collect by contract and code of law. Step out and no one gets hurt." Ephraim answered from the window, voice tired but loud. "You ain't talkin' her." The man below chuckled. "You're outnumbered, outgunned, and out of time." Jace fired first. Didn't wait on words. The shot cracked through the still and dropped the lantern man's horse mid-stride. The rider tumbled hard, didn't get up. Chaos followed. Gunfire burst from the trees like hail on a tin roof. The flankers opened up fast, rounds sparking off the wagon, chewing into porch wood. Emma ducked, fired once, missed. Jace shouted, "Keep low." He moved left toward the trough, caught a ricochet in the leg but didn't fall. Grunted through the burn, raised his rifle, picked off one flanker crouched behind the tool shed. Ephraim fired from above, one clean shot. Took a man through the shoulder, spun him off his feet. But the others kept common. These weren't green boys. These were bounty-trained, cold-blooded. One reached the porch, grabbed the rail, tried to climb. Emma stood fast, shoved her barrel in his chest, fired. The blast lit her face. He crumpled backward into the dirt. Jace limped toward the corral, caught another shadow moving fast along the side. He dropped to one knee, aimed, squeezed, missed. Dirt sprayed, but the rider dove behind the hay cart. "Emma," he shouted. Left side, she turned, shot again and again. A grunt, then silence. Jace crawled to the porch, blood trail behind him, and pulled himself up beside her. "You hit?" she asked, voice tight. "Leg," he said. "Ain't too bad." From inside the house, Ephraim called down. "Reloadin'." Another bullet smacked the wall above Jace's head, showered splinters. Emma yanked him down. "You can't hold this spot." "Wasn't planning to," he gritted. "We pull 'em in close, make 'em pay for every step." One of the riders let loose a whistle. 2 others rose from cover and fired in tandem. One shot cracked the porch post, the other punched through the kitchen window. Glass rained inside. Jace returned fire, blind but wild enough to make him duck. Emma ducked too, pulled Jace tighter behind the crates. "How many left?" she asked. 3, maybe 4. "That's too many." "Still breathin', ain't we?" Ephraim fired again from the loft. Hit one in the thigh, man fell howling. Another dashed out, grabbed him by the collar, dragged him back behind the smokehouse. Jace checked his shells. 3 left. Emma had 2. Ephraim, no tellin'. But they were running light. The porch was splintered, half the crates shot through. The wall behind him bore scars from every side. Moonlight caught the blood stain on Jace's jeans. The smell of gunpowder clung to the air, thick and sharp. And still, no retreat. The attackers circled, changing angles. Smarter now. One fired toward the upper window, drowning Ephraim's aim. Another moved right toward the barn. "They're trying to smoke us out," Jace said. "Gonna flank the whole place." "Then we move," Emma said. "Where?" "Kitchen," she said. "Better angles, bottleneck 'em." He looked at her. Saw it in her eyes, fear was gone. Just grit now, he nodded. "Go," she ran first. Jace followed slow, leg dragging. They slipped inside as bullets chewed more wood. Kitchen smelled of flour and blood. Ephraim thundered down the stairs behind him. "Windows gone," he said. "Can't see nothing now." "We make a stand here," Jace said. Force 'em to come through the front or back door. Either way, we see 'em first. They took positions, Emma behind the stove, Ephraim near the pantry door, Jace just left of the table. The walls closed in around 'em. Outside all was still for a beat, then boots on the porch, slow, heavy. Lantern light flickered past the curtains. Then another set of boots behind the house. Porch boards creaked. The back steps groaned. Jace raised his rifle, breath held. Then knock, 2 slow raps on the front door. Then a voice, calm, steady, chilled. "Emma, tell your man to lay down arms. This don't end well for nobody otherwise." Emma's hand tightened on the grip. Her voice shook, but not from fear, from fury. "You first, Mr. Vex." Silence. Then a chuckle, cold as river stone. "You think I came myself without and did this?" Jace's eyes flicked to the back. "That ain't just hired help anymore," he muttered. Lanterns bobbed past the window. More riders than before. A fresh wave. Ephraim exhaled, slow. "We ain't ready for another round." Jace leaned toward the window, eyes narrow. "Then we better make our names count before we're buried with 'em." A boot hit the back door, then another. Hinges groaned. Wood cracked. Jace raised the rifle. "Here they come." The cabin shook with every hit, boots stomping the porch, hinges groaning like tired mules, rifle bolts clicking back with the cold promise of killing. Lantern light flickered through the busted slats, throwing shadows across the kitchen like ghosts stretching long and ready to haunt. The air inside was thick, gun smoke, sweat, blood, and fear all tangled together. But none of them moved from their post. Not Jace, not Emma, not Ephraim. They stood where they were, like rocks holden against floodwater. Jace crouched low behind the table, his bad leg stretched out stiff, pain ridden him hard but not breaking his grip. Rifle pressed to his shoulder, breath slow, eyes sharper than broken glass. Ephraim leaned in the pantry doorway, Sharp's rifle tucked firm against his chest, the weight of years behind every breath. No shakiness now, no shame. That was gone. Burned out of him like rot. He looked younger in that moment, or maybe just more himself. Emma crouched behind the stove, revolver gripped tight in both hands, braid hanging down her back like a battle flag. Her eyes were set. She didn't flinch when bullets hit the outside walls, didn't duck when wood splintered just inches from her cheek. That fear from before, gone. She wasn't waiting for rescue now. She was part of the stand. Another set of boots hit the back steps, then another. The back door flexed with every shove. "They're trying both sides," Jace said low. "Trying to split us." "Let 'em," Ephraim answered. "Ain't but one door they're leaving through, and that's if we let 'em." A shot punched through the window frame, chipped the kitchen counter. Emma fired back 1, 2 rounds, drew a grunt from outside. Ephraim stepped out just far enough to angle his rifle, sighted through the pantry window and fired. The blast near took the wall with it. Someone screamed out past the garden fence. Jace nodded. "Still got the touch." "Ain't forget it," Ephraim said. "Just forgot I had the right to use it." The front door shook again. A voice rose through the noise, colder now, less polite. "Jace Teller, I know you. Drove fence on the Caldwell Ranch." "Quiet hand. Never thought you'd turn outlaw." Jace didn't answer. The voice kept calming. "You give us the girl, you walk, her and her old man, that's the contract. No grudge on you." Emma looked at Jace. Her eyes asked it plain. He shook his head. "They lie easy," he said. "Kill easier." "So be it," the voice shouted. Then came the torches. Fire flared outside, hissing as it caught the edge of the porch roof. Lantern oil flung up the side planks, catching fast. The crackle was a new kind of fear. Heat pressed through the boards, orange light spilling through the cracks. Smoke started to curl along the ceiling. Ephraim grabbed the water bucket, tossed it at the wall. Didn't do much. "We're losing the porch," Jace called out. "We lose the porch, we lose the front line." "Back room," Emma said. "We draw 'em in, choke the fight narrow. Smoke'll box us in," Ephraim warned. "If the roof catches, we're cooked." We fight now or we don't fight at all, Jace said. He grabbed his rifle, pushed himself up with a groan, and limped toward the hallway. Emma moved with him, Ephraim behind, and the three of them made their stand in the back room, a little square of space that smelled like kerosene and old hay. They kicked down a bench, set it for cover, and waited. More boots. Closer now. The back door shuddered. Smoke slipped under the crack, ghosting across the floor. Then a boot hit hard. The door burst open and the first man came through. Emma fired first, hit center chest. He dropped. Jace followed, caught the second in the neck. Blood sprayed. Screams echoed. Ephraim fired third, missed, but the boom shook the floorboards. Another man stumbled in blind, gun high, fired wild. Caught Jace in the shoulder. He staggered but stayed up, fired back, and ended him clean. The doorway stacked with bodies. Smoke thick now. Breathin' was harder. Emma pulled Jace down behind the bench. "You're bleedin' bad. Ain't dead yet. You will be if you don't stay down." Jace gave her a look, soft despite the blood. "You always talk this bossy when you're scared." She met it with steel. "Ain't scared. Just done lossin' people." Ephraim reloaded slow, hands sure, eyes red from the smoke. "We buy another minute, maybe two, they'll pull back. Or torch the whole damn house," Jace muttered. From the window, lanterns danced in the yard. More men movin'. A shadow tossed something, glass bottle, rag burnin'. It hit the wall and fire bloomed fast. Flames licked up the side, found the roof line. "It's catchin'," Ephraim called. "We got to move." Jace stood, wavered, then set his jaw. "We fall back to the root cellar. Regroup. Breathe." Emma grabbed the shells. Ephraim pulled Jace's arm over his shoulder, and together they pushed through the smoke. The kitchen glowed orange, paint peeling from heat. They ducked under the table, kicked open the trapdoor, dropped into darkness. Fire cracked above. Boards popped and fell. The sound was deafening now. In the cellar it was cooler. Damp earth and stone walls kept the heat back a little. Jace leaned against the wall, blood soaking through his shirt. Emma pressed her scarf to the wound. "You stay awake here. Ain't plannin' to nap," he said, smellin' weak. Ephraim covered the trapdoor with a board, set a crate on top. "Won't hold long, just slow 'em." "That's all we need," Jace said. "A little more time." "For what?" Ephraim asked. Jace looked at Emma. "To finish this." Then from above, muffled voices. Boots again. The trapdoor creaked. The crate shifted. Emma raised her revolver. Ephraim shouldered the sharps. Jace chambered his last round. Smoke curled in from the cracks. Wood groaned above like it was begging to fall. The crate slid another inch, and the trapdoor began to open. The crate slid slow across the trapdoor, 1 inch, then 2, scraping like death's fingernail on dry wood. Smoke curled down through the cracks, thick and bitter, stinging the eyes and clinging to the lungs. Jace pulled in a breath through grit teeth. Rifle aimed steady despite the blood trickling from his shoulder. Emma crouched beside him, revolver raised, jaw tight, the firelight from above catching in her eyes like a brand. Ephraim stood behind them both, Sharp's rifle ready, the last round chambered, the weight of the past pressing into the steel. The trapdoor creaked, wood bent, then it kicked open. A man dropped down hard, boot first, rifle sweeping. Jace fired point blank. The shot echoed like thunder in a canyon. The man dropped without a word. Another tried to follow, slid down quick, but Emma was faster. Her shot cracked like a whip, caught him in the side. He fell backward, screaming as he hit the steps. "Block it," Jace rasped. Ephraim threw the crate back over the hatch, shoved a sack of grain on top, then braced it with his back. The wood above pounded with fists, boots, rage. "They're desperate," he muttered. "They know it's slippin'." "Good," Jace said. "Let 'em feel it." A pause, then silence. Not peace, just a breath before a harder swing. A voice followed, deep calm, wrapped in velvet and venom. "Jace, tell her, I'd hoped better of you." Jace's jaw clenched. "Vex, you know what this is," Harlan Vex called down. "Business, just business." The girl was payment. I honored the deal. Her father signed. You hired men to take her, Jace growled. You lit a home on fire. That ain't business. That's enforcement, Vex said. This is the cost of break-in contracts. Emma spoke then, voice clear as bell iron. You don't own me. Silence above. Then a single reply. Don't I? The crate exploded. Lantern oil been poured. Fire climbed through the trap like a devil reaching for its due. Ephraim shoved the crate back with a cry, scorched along the arm. Jace grabbed his good arm, hauled him back. Flames clawed into the cellar, smoke billowing thick. We're done hidden, Emma said, standing tall. Back door, Jace coughed. Let's move. He led the way, limping but firm. They pushed out through the old cellar exit, came up by the broken corral, dawn just starting to stretch across the hills. Smoke poured from the house, fire eaten the roof. In the yard stood Harlan Vex, clean suit dirtied at the cuffs, pistol in hand. Around him, 5 riders, mean-eyed, tired, frayed. Jace raised his rifle, aimed straight at the man in the middle. It's over, Vex. Vex didn't flinch. You're bleedin', limpin', 2 shells left, maybe 1. I got 5 men and the law in my back pocket. You're dust already. Ephraim stepped beside Jace, face burned, eyes sharp. Maybe. But we're still standin', for now, long enough. Then Emma stepped forward past them both. Dust on her dress, ash on her skin, revolver steady in her grip. She walked straight into the yard toward Vex. You want me? She said. Come take me. Vex raised the pistol. Don't tempt me, girl. Ain't a girl, she said. I'm what's left after fire, and you'll burn too. He hesitated, just for a second, but in that second Ephraim lifted the sharps, slow, deliberate. Vex turned his pistol toward the sound, too late. The rifle cracked. The bullet struck dead center, punched Vex off his feet. The pistol flew. Silence fell. The riders froze. One turned and bolted. Another followed. Within seconds the rest scattered like leaves in wind. Just Vex lay there now, gasping, blood risen in his mouth. Emma walked over, kicked the pistol away. Jace limped to her side. He done? Close enough. Ephraim came last, slow steps, eyes locked on the man he once feared. Vex tried to speak, but blood bubbled instead. Ephraim looked down at him. You ain't business, you're rot. Vex didn't answer, couldn't. The light left his eyes, and with it the hold he'd carried over this place. The sun broke the ridge behind them. Gold light spilled over the burned-out house, the battered land, the bodies in the dirt. Fire still crackled in the timbers, but the worst had passed. They stood in the smoke and light, 3 figures marked by war but unbroken by it. Jace dropped to one knee, not from reverence but because his leg gave out. Emma caught him before he hit the ground. You'll live, she said, breathing hard. That's what you keep saying, he grinned. You keep proving it. I ain't finished yet, she said. He looked at her. Good. Ephraim sat on the porch rail, what was left of it, hands black with soot, face streaked with ash and sweat. He looked at the sky like he hadn't seen it in years. Never thought I'd get to sunrise feeling right with myself. Jace nodded slow. You earned it. Might not deserve it. Don't matter, Emma said. It's here. They watched the smoke rise. Watched the land wake up to a new day. The Calder ranch was scorched, walls half gone, the roof collapsed, but the fence still stood. The well still held. And the ground was theirs. Ephraim turned to Jace. If you want to leave, I won't hold you. Jace shook his head. Ain't leavin', he looked to Emma, if she'll have me. Emma smiled, just a flicker. You already been fightin' like you're mine. He took her hand. Then I'll keep fightin', build it back, if you want that. She squeezed his fingers. I want that. The sun climbed higher. Dust swirled in lazy circles, this time without threat, just life moving on. A ranch once sold now stood free, paid for in fire and grit and blood, but free. They turned toward the barn, what was left of it. The animals still needed tending. Fences needed fixin'. But for the first time in a long while, the work ahead felt worth doing. Behind them lay the ruin, ahead the trail, and the promise that come what may, they'd ride it together. You've been riding with old Western stories. If the tale hit your mark, give it a like, drop a comment about your favorite part, and ring that bell so you don't miss the next trail we ride. Don't forget, hit that subscribe so you're always in the saddle, and you'll always be ready when the next story rides in.